Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Responsibility Quotient podcast. My name is Katherine Kowalchuk, and today is July the 17th, 2024. Today, I have two great guests joining me tonight. Maxime Bernier, who is the leader of the People's Party of Canada and the candidate of record in Burlington, Ontario, Michael Bator, and they will be joining me shortly. I will give you a little bit of background on Maxime. Pursuant to the People's Party of Canada website, Maxime would describe himself as a man of ideas. He believes in personal responsibility and freedom, and that's at the heart of his political vision. And I can tell you that from the information that I've seen from Maxime through social media, that seems to be quite accurate. He's a lawyer who was called to the Quebec bar in 1990. He was a former Conservative MP, elected in January of 2006, and he was appointed to cabinet in February 2006 as in the Ministry of Industry. Mr. Bernier also served as the Minister of Foreign Affairs from August 2007 to May 2008. And in 2011, he was appointed the Minister of State for Small Business and Tourism. Thereafter, he decided to leave the Conservative Party of Canada and sit as an independent MP and announced the launch of his new party shortly thereafter that. The People's Party of Canada brings together the common sense, populism, classic conservatism, and libertarianism to create solutions adapted for the challenges of the 21st century. They believe their beliefs are succinctly summarized in their four founding principles of freedom, responsibility, fairness, and respect. And these principles guide and inform the policies of the People's Party of Canada. I will also be bringing on Michael Bator, as I said, who is the candidate of record for the party in Burlington, Ontario. Michael is a natural-born leader and has been taking on leadership roles since he was a young boy in Boy Scouts and as captain of many football, hockey, soccer, and softball teams. He's a software developer and engineer and has taken on leadership roles throughout his career, including in tech with IBM and application architect with TD and Manulife. Michael also is passionate about, is a pianist and a guitarist, and has even performed a few times at fundraisers. He firmly believes in the importance of family and preserving the values of this great country. He has taken a stand against the sexualization of children, the erasure of women, and the erosion of Christian values in our society. He is a skilled leader and teacher and mentor who is passionate about giving back to his community, preserving traditional values, and helping others become their best selves. So without further ado, welcome, gentlemen, to the stage. How are you both this evening?
Great. Thank you very much.
Excellent. Well, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for joining in. You know, Maxime, I've been to a few of your rallies here in Alberta. I guess the most recent one would have been during COVID, when you were in Strathmore for a rally. And I have to say, at a time where Canadians were really looking for leadership, you were probably one of the only political figures that stepped up. And as a result of that, you paid a price and you were arrested for your support of the Canadian people. Can you explain a little bit about the People's Party of Canada, a little bit about your history, and why you decided that it was time for you to start this party?
Thank you for asking, Katherine. I'm very pleased to be with you. So, yes, like you said in the beginning, I was a minister under the Harper government, the Conservative government, from 2006 to 2017. In 2017, I decided to run for the leadership of the Conservative Party of Canada. We were a lot of candidates, maybe 11 or 12, I don't remember. I was not in the beginning the favorite candidate, but we decided to do a campaign um, based on ideas and real conservative, fiscal conservative ideas, and also, free market ideas. And that was very popular. I didn't win with 49% of the vote. After that, I worked with Andrew Scheer for about 15 months, and I tried to influence the Conservative Party of Canada with our ideas because they were very popular with the membership of the Conservative Party of Canada. But Andrew Scheer in 2018 told me that he won't take any of our ideas because he said they're not popular, and my goal is to be elected as a prime minister. So when he said that, I said, I don't want to waste my time with the Conservative Party of Canada. They are not conservative, they're only conservative in name. And I decided to create the People's Party of Canada. And I said, this party, the Conservative Party, is morally and intellectually corrupt because they don't speak about conservative policies. Because we are living in a socialist era right now, and they are speaking about what is popular. They are doing politics based on survey and focus group. And as you know, the population has been manipulated by the leftists, by the mainstream media. So we created the People's Party based on four principles, like you said: individual freedom, personal responsibility, respect, and fairness. We had our first election in 2019, and we had 1.6% of the vote at that time. A lot of experts and political commentators were saying at that time that that's the end of the People's Party of Canada, only 1.6% of the vote. What Bernier did, that was not a success, and we won't hear from him in the next couple of months. But with candidates like Michael and all across the country, we decided to go ahead and being ready for the election in 2021. And as you said, before the election in 2021, I was, doing rallies across the country. And that was just before COVID. And yes, I was the only national leaders who said that, we must end lockdowns and stay at home orders and all these draconian measures. It was part of our DNA as a political party because, as you know, our principles is individual freedom and personal responsibility. And all these draconian measures were against our freedoms. They were authoritarian measures against our Charter of Rights. And I did a lot of rallies across the country. And one rally in Manitoba, I did a meeting in a park with the executive of our riding associations in Manitoba because we didn't have the right to have a meeting inside. So we did that outside in a park. We were about maybe 15, and we were having a discussion about being ready for the next election. That was in July, end of June 2019. And because of that, I was arrested, handcuffed, and put in jail for 12 hours for a non-crime after a political meeting in a park. And I believe that was the first time in the history of our country that a leader of a national body was arrested, speaking about what he believed, and tried to force the government to respect our Charter of Rights. And yes, at the election in 2019, we had 5% of the vote. And that was a great election. Now our goal for the next election in 2025, in October, from 1.6 to 5%, we almost triple our score. So maybe we can, from 5 to 10, we can double that. But as you know, it's an average all across the country. If we have, I don't know, 8, 9, 10, something like that at the next election, percentage of the votes, that means that in some ridings you can have 25 or 20%. So I don't know what will happen, but the People's Party will be ready for the election in October 2025. And our goal is to grow our percentage of the vote to be part of to force these establishment politicians to speak about the real issues that we are facing as a country. Mass immigration, radical gender ideology, and we are losing our country right now. So our goal is to influence the population and being able to grow our percentage of the vote. And I hope that I'll be able to be elected with some candidates also. But that's a big fight, and we are actually right now we are looking for candidates. We have about 130 or 35 candidates selected and approved and being ready for the next election, and Michael is one of them. So that's a big challenge, but we are the only populist party in this country, and we want to offer a real alternative for Canadians. They will have the choice between all these mainstream political parties, liberal, conservatives, and NDP, and us. That is a very different political party, because our platform, it's always the same. What we said in 2019, we said it in 2021, and that will be the same platform in 2025. So we are doing politics differently based on ideas and convictions, and I believe that that's the future of politics.
Wow. I can't disagree with you. Michael, what drew you to the party and to run for the People's Party of Canada? Oh, I can't hear you.
Yeah, sorry, my apologies.
There.
I noticed that
That's okay.
something was wrong shortly after in 2020. And one of my brother-in-law is a hazmat for the Toronto Fire Department. I know some ambulance drivers or paramedics as well. And things weren't adding up, especially when you don't treat this as a hazardous material based on the propaganda. So I began to question it. Then I started to get even more involved, starting to go to rallies. I think it was Vlad. I went to his first time at Square One with my fiance, Michelle. Then we bought swag. We went to the rallies that we could. And what really inspired me to go during COVID, because of all the suicides, because of the need to get the kids out of the house, it was hurting them. I took on 2 teams until they did the jab. You could almost say the jab is what pushed me over the edge, because what I was doing, helping the kids, trying to, help out activists that were trying to make a difference and leaders that were trying to make a difference, it wasn't good enough. And I had to stand up. I saw a tweet from Maxime. I remembered seeing him just about 4 months before that. I could have been 2022 even, or no sooner. In 2020 or 2021. Yes, it was 2021, Queen's Park, inspirational speech. There was a chance that there was going to be a difference. I wasn't disenfranchised anymore. I felt that, you know what, I've never done this before. In school, the counselor said that was one of my top career choices, that lawyer, PR, and teacher. My dad freaked out. He said, all politicians are crooked. Same with the lawyers. You should be a teacher. Oh, and by the way, Mike, they got a great pension plan. That was my dad. So then in August 21, when I got that tweet, I was so upset about the Vaxports coming, seeing my friends' businesses destroyed, seeing people's children die of suicide. There was something I had to do. Max gave me the opportunity. I'd never done it before. I immediately went to my dad to get his blessing. And he told me, Mike, maybe I was wrong back when you were younger. Maybe we need to send some good people in there. I was so scared that they were going to, change you and corrupt you. But maybe if we sent enough good people, we'd have a good parliament and it wouldn't be a den of thieves. So that got me in there right away. I didn't know what was going on. I was 2 weeks late getting to the race, paperwork. Well, actually getting the signatures was the slowdown. I busked downtown, beautiful. We're going to bring Max down to the waterfront hotel. I'm pitching it in an itinerary, but it's so beautiful in downtown Burlington. I just want to digress for 1 second. We did get some flooding. I got some news from some of the people in Burlington, some friends in Toronto. We've had some flooding and some people aren't able to live in their house. We're very lucky that nobody was hurt. So Michelle and I tomorrow will probably go down instead of canvassing. We have a birthday party. We're going to take the weekend off, but we're going to go visit and see if we can go see some of our members down there. I think it would be really good. Just moral support. I don't know what we could do. But that was my journey. It gave me an opportunity to try something new, to try something that I was told not to do when I was a kid. And now I get a chance to do it. And the most beautiful thing of this job is the people, is meeting the people, hearing their stories, and trying to provide that hope, that advice, maybe getting them to the right position, especially during COVID. Oh my God, everyone's going crazy. So we worked a lot with Action for Canada and other groups because I was trying to build a riding. And on October 21st, everyone was freaked out. Oh my God, what do we do now? The vaxports are in. It came in the next day. I went to a protest immediately with my Oakville candidate and the Mama Bears. So everything went crazy. October 21st, we made the decision to back all like-minded people, start the Find Your Tribe campaign, which was very successful. We'll get there later if it comes up. But we just wanted to make sure that people at Christmas that were excluded from their families, people that were not able to go to a show, discriminated against. We just wanted to make sure we brought these people together, and we made sure that some people had Christmases. We introduced them. We met. We did things. We had speakeasy parties to make sure that people had their mental health up, make sure that they were taken care of. And that's how the Burlington riding was born. It was born Max giving us hope, and then me saying, wow, I got a chance. I'm going to try this. And there's all these people here. And that's how Hamilton and Burlington grew the relationship, because a lot of people were disenfranchised. They were disenfranchised after it. And I sit there and I go, look, dude, you got to get up. We just got knocked down. If you don't get up, you don't win. And that was the attitude that we had. We had a beautiful year. Maxime, you supported us so much. He came down. It was the 2022 January. Beautiful, inspirational speech with Maxime, again, at the place that inspired me to join. And then we had a speakeasy. We brought him back to a private location so that we could talk to Hamilton, we could talk to Burlington, we could talk to Milton, we could talk to all the ridings around Burlington, and it lifted us up. And then just a week later, we were supposed to do the rally. You were supposed to be at Rainbow Bridge. Remember that? You won't remember. You're so busy. I remember. I was freaked out. Wow, you're giving me the keys? So you gave me the keys to Rainbow Bridge because Taking Back Our Freedoms has driven across Canada from Alberta to go to the Rainbow Bridge, to meet the congressman, to meet the other groups. All of a sudden, the trucker convoy blows up. I get a call from the regional organizer. Boom, we're at the bridge. I'm like, oh my God, I got to write a speech, look after all these people, get a generator, and it was crazy.
Get a generator.
It was beautiful. And that's how our riding started. And then Max was in Ottawa, and it was great. And then Hamilton was a warehouse at that time. That was my most favorite time. I felt most Canadian then, because everybody got together. You should have seen our bridge at Guelph Line. You should have seen the 20th century or Highway 20 bridge in Hamilton. You should have seen Marshall's truck stop. And then for 4 weeks, we fed everybody in Burlington, Oakville, and Hamilton, and other places. We collected food. Hamilton carted it up the first few weeks. And then on Valentine's, we got to go up. I got to hang out with Max. We flipped pancakes. I don't know if we played street hockey, but Jody was doing that stuff. I was going to go in a bouncy castle with Max, but he said it was too big. So he kind of brushed that off. I don't know. But it was such a beautiful thing. And everybody I know was hurting. They lost jobs, because I know I marched with these people at Brand. The nurses, when they lost their jobs, all these people coming and trying to send them to Action for Canada, places that can help them.
Yeah.
These people didn't have money. You know what they did? I said, I'm going to take whatever you got. You go to the dollar store, you write on a piece of paper. I don't care. I'm going to send your message, and I'm going to go for you and deliver it. And it was amazing. Our team went up there with 4 trucks. It was crazy getting the gas in there. Oh my goodness. We kept getting calls like, don't go here, go here. Don't go here, go there. And that's how I got here. And Max gave us an opportunity to take our country back. I didn't see any other option until I met him. And that's how I got here.
Wow. What a great story. In 2015, I was the nominated candidate for the Federal Liberal Party, if you can believe it. I can't believe it, because I feel like I've changed so much in Calgary. And for personal reasons, I wasn't able to run. And so I actually didn't end up running. And then, I went through a divorce and some other things that took me, distracted me from politics. And then COVID happened. And then as a result of COVID, I formed and co-founded Lawyers for Truth with some other like-minded lawyers in Alberta and across Canada. And from there, I decided that the only way that we're getting out of it, being a lawyer as well, I figured that the only way we're going to actually be able to change this is if we get people into positions who are lawmakers to become MLAs or MPs, so that we can actually change the laws, because it's that's where you start, of course. Little did I know how difficult it was going to be, and how absolutely I guess uneducated, uninformed, and disillusioned a lot of Canadians are, and including myself, I guess, to some extent. Maxime, when you were with the Conservatives, Stephen Harper voted or signed Canada up to the Paris Climate Accord. Were you an MP during that time? And can you explain, maybe for Canadians, that process? Were the MPs consulted? Was it discussed in the House? And what your thoughts are about that membership?
Yes, absolutely. But before speaking about that, I just want to let you know, Katherine, that we are still looking for candidates for the next election in 2025. So if you are interested, it's okay. If you were with the Liberal in 2015, a lot of people voted for the Liberals. They did, and I believe a lot of them won't do that again in 2025. So, but I'm serious. If you want to run, our doors are open. So, and also, yes, about the agenda, the UN agenda that Stephen Harper did sign. I was a member of parliament. I was part of the cabinet also at that time. But I must tell you that we didn't have a vote in the House about that. That was a decision from the executive. And I didn't have to vote for or against that. At that time, Mr. Harper, and also he was following other prime ministers who, working with the UN was very important. As you remember, also, we kind of our country, and Stephen Harper at that time wanted also to have a seat at the UN Security Council. We had an election, and Stephen Harper, did do some phone calls to have the support of some countries for our candidacy for the Security Council. We didn't win that seat, but Stephen Harper was in with all the agenda, the UN agenda, like other prime ministers. After that, as you know, Justin Trudeau just follow on that direction, and is doing everything that the UN and the globalists there and the socialists over there are telling him to do. So it is. For us, our policy is very clear. We have a strong position, and I said that the UN is a dysfunctional organization. We will cut the funding to the UN. We will bring that money back in Canada, and helping Canadian first. We don't want to participate in the global compact on migration. We won't sign that. We won't sign the new pandemic treaties. We're gonna be independent and sovereign, and also, the migration compact. As you know, our position on immigration is to end mass immigration, and actually a moratorium on immigration for permanent residents until, we fix the housing crisis, the inflation, and now Canadians are poor every year because of mass immigration, because of the inflation, because of the spending. So we need bold reforms to be sure to bring our country back and helping Canadians. But the UN is not part of our platform. Actually, we will still be part of the UN as a country, but we will save a lot of money because we won't finance the UN when the UN will promote socialist and globalist policies. So that's why I can tell you that we'll save a lot of money. And same thing also for the World Economic Forum and also the World Health Organization. We won't participate in these international forums. We don't need to participate there. We have competent people in Canada, and so Canada must be a sovereign country, and that's a part of what we believe at the People's Party.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. So when you're in cabinet and you see that the leader Stephen Harper, Prime Minister, is signing on to this Paris Climate Accord, like what were people thinking? Like were you thinking, okay, well, this sounds good? Like what was going on in the minds of the cabinet and your caucus? Because as we've seen, the Paris Climate Accord has committed Canada to these outrageous targets for a problem that doesn't exist. And so what was going on, do you think, at that time?
Yeah, we had discussion about that around the cabinet table, and I was part of that. So our political system is, as you know, we are a democracy, a parliamentary democracy, and in parliament, when you are also in cabinet, there's we call that cabinet solidarity. So if you don't agree with a policy or a politics from the government that you are part on, as a minister, you express your point of view at the cabinet table, and you try to convince your colleagues that the position is not the best one for the country. I can tell you that I was not successful. And after that, when there's a majority or a consensus on a position, the prime minister will be able to announce that, and that's what he did. So you have two choices. If you don't agree with the decision, and it's very important, you're silent after the decision. You express your point of view in cabinet, and after that, you're not in the position to promote it. If you don't promote a position that you don't believe in. You stay silent. Or if it's a very important position, you can resign as a minister, and you'll be free to speak against the position of the government. But that being said, I did not resign at that time because I wanted to do a bold reforms, and I was in industry minister, and I was in the middle of a deregulation, and that reform was very successful. That's why Professor Schultz from Montreal, from McGill University in Montreal, said that I was the best industry minister ever because of that big reform in deregulation, less regulation, more freedom, more competition, and prices for cellular and phone went down with more competition. So I was working on that reform, and I wanted to finish that reform. But there's some discussion around the cabinet table. You can express your point of view, and you can try to convince your colleagues to be on your side. And if you're not successful, the government will do, the prime minister will do what he wants when he has a consensus around the cabinet table.
So, as I disclosed, I was the nominated candidate for the federal Liberals, but I didn't actually really understand fully what that meant since COVID, and which has incidentally brought me, strengthened my Christian faith. That's for sure. I have a better understanding of what it means, like the differences between liberal, NDP, and conservative. I'm wondering for both of you, what is your idea? What makes a conservative as opposed to what we're seeing now with the CPC and other so-called conservative and name parties only throughout Canada and in various provinces, including my own.
Michael,
Does anybody
do you
want
want
to
to
start that off?
Sure. I think the major difference is that since Mulroney, maybe sooner, maybe since Trudeau won, it appears as though we've been going away from our Canadian values, which are based on Christian values, the supremacy of God and the rule of law. So it seems like each government has been moving away from their original standpoint. So for me as a conservative, the conservative part of my values is fiscal responsibility and having a moral compass based on Christian values. That to me is a conservative. Parts of me are kind of libertarian, where I'd like to see everybody get the heck out of the way at Canadians and let them get to work, because we're pretty good at working if you get the heck out of the way and put the money back in our pockets. So that's the difference. They're spending money and the moral compass has changed. That's my opinion. Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Maxime?
Yes, Michael, you're right about that. And I must add that, if you look at the Conservative Party, the Liberals and the NDP, why are they sharing the same positions on climate change, on immigration, on the war in Ukraine? They're all the same on these very important issues for the future of our country. I believe that it's because, the Conservative Party of Canada didn't do their job speaking about conservative ideas. And they don't have the courage to speak about that because their only goal, their first goal, is to be in power, is to be elected. And because of the leftist media, like I said before, they were able to manipulate the public opinions, and the conservative are doing polling and focus group and speaking against the mass immigration in 2019 that was not popular, speaking against the war in Ukraine. It's not popular because you have the mainstream media who are manipulating the public opinion. So that's why they're all the same on these different issues. So we are offering a real alternative for Canadians, and we are doing politics differently with these ideas. And they're the same because they're following the public opinion, and they just want, it's a question of the support. You may say, yes, Maxime, but ending mass immigration, there's a lot of support in the population now. And you're right about that. I mean, more than 50% of the population are saying, yeah, we have, we need to end mass immigration. And about 40% of the immigrants are saying that. But why the Conservative Party is not speaking about that? Because for them, like I said, it's all about winning. And they're looking at polls in different ridings, and they know which riding they need to win. They need to win to be to have a majority. So, and they're doing very focused polling in different ridings. And so, if you're a riding when there's a huge majority of immigrants, and 60% of them are for mass immigration, the leader will speak for mass immigration, and that's what Pierre Poilievre is doing. So we are not doing any polling and focus group. We at the People's Party, we have our ideas, and we believe the more we speak about that, the more popular they will become. And when our ideas will be more popular, we will be more popular as a political party. So we are doing politics on the long term. We have a vision for this country. That's the big difference with us and the Liberals, the Conservative, and the NDP.
Did you notice, Maxime, also, let me back up. I interviewed Randy Hillier, an MPP in Ontario. You would know him. You both have been greatly impacted by the COVID measures and being persecuted, certainly his take on politics, after spending quite a few number of years in as an elected official, that a lot of what sways these political parties are special interest groups and lobbyists, and that in fact most of these parties don't really have much of a say, and they're steered based on what these special interest groups and lobbyists want. So, one, do you agree with that? And how do you think the People's Party will deal with that if it's able to gain a majority?
Yes, I agree with that 100%. And, yes, we did a lot of rallies together, Randy and myself. And Randy is a friend. And, it's a privilege for me to have him as a friend. And he's right about that. The best example is during my leadership contest for the leadership of the Conservative Party of Canada. I was not the leader of that party because the cartel, the dairy producers, decided they didn't want me to win because I had a strong policy about, freedom. And I said, we must end that cartel in poultry, milk, and eggs. And if we do that, the price of these products will go down. And so if you compare, the price of a dozen of eggs in Canada and in the US right now, it's almost double in Canada because of that cartel. So, and all these producers, they were not happy. So they decided to buy a membership of the Conservative Party of Canada to vote against me. So yes, these interest group are very important for these parties, but for us, and also, it's if you are a member of the Conservative Party of Canada and you want to influence the party, you won't be able to do that. Every 3 years they have a convention and members are voting resolutions coming from different corners of this country, resolution on policies, abolishing the cartel or other ideas, lower taxes. And they have a big party and they are voting a resolution, and the members think that they are very powerful, but they are not, because at the end, it is the leader who decide the platform. And at the last convention, Polyev said they voted to abolish the cartel in dairy, poultry, and eggs. But Polyev said no. That won't be part of my electoral platform. So they can vote all these policies and ideas during a convention, but it's a fake democracy. The leader will decide the platform for the election after doing polling and focus group and after being influenced by these interested groups. So for them, it's all about winning a seat. For us, it won't happen because it's always the same policies. You cannot come and become a member of the People's Party and try to change our policies. It's always the same. I said when we created the party in 2018, if you don't like our policies, don't vote for us. Don't try to come in our party and change our policies. It won't happen. So we don't have that fake democracy in our party, asking our members come to our convention, vote ideas, and at the end we don't take any of them. So our members
Yeah.
cannot change our platform. It's always the same. So I said to people in 2018, if you don't like our platform, go and create your own political party. This is the platform of the People's Party based on 4 principles, and it won't change. Yes, at every year we are, um, doing an update of our platform based on the new data and the new statistics and the new deficit in Ottawa. But it's always the same policy. So nobody can come and hijack the party and try to change the policies. That's the beauty of this party. So if you are a volunteer for the Liberal Party of Canada or for the Conservative Party of Canada, and you decided to give your time to that party because you like their policies, maybe you'll be disappointed in couple of years because maybe a policy that is important for you, the leader won't run on that, and that won't be part of the platform. So you may waste your time as a volunteer with the Conservative or the Liberals or the NDP. For us, if you are a volunteer with the People's Party of Canada, you won't waste your time. If you come to our party, it's because you like our ideas and our policies, and they won't change. So you are helping us to grow, but at the same time, we won't disappoint you because this is the way that we are doing politics based on ideas, and that's very different.
Yeah, I can tell you in Alberta here with the United Conservative Party, that's kind of what I have seen has happened, that the grassroots put forward a number of really pretty good policies at the last AGM. And of course, what's happened is that Smith hasn't been implementing them whatsoever. And there's quite a groundswell of discontent, especially amongst the Conservatives, with respect to that, right? And part of the thing that is challenging, I think, for people in the public to realize is that when you vote for a party like the UCP, the NDP, the Liberals, CPC, they also have what's called a party whip. And so based on that party whip, as soon as you become the elected candidate for that party, your allegiance shifts from that of the constituents. This is my opinion, but I think it's true. To that of the party, because if you're, and you described this before earlier, Maxime, about, in cabinet you can voice your opinion, but apart from that, if the majority wants to go a certain way, then basically that's the way that you're going to go, right? And so this is what's happening in our political system. I suspect, but I don't know for sure, does the People's Party have a whip policy? Or one of the things that I did run in the province of Alberta for the Independence Party of Alberta last election here in Alberta. And one of the policies that I had put forward prior to that election was a policy that all MLAs would be free to vote their conscience on all matters, including budgetary matters, which would make, I think, governing more challenging, but also more aligned with a principle where the candidate is able to actually represent their constituents and not just the party. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah,
and Michael, jump in whenever you want, Michael.
Yeah, you have a point there. So at the People's Party, the responsibility of our candidates, a candidate that will be elected, we will ask him or her to vote in line with our foundation, with our principles, with our 20 policies. That's the foundation of the party. So, but after that, all these other decisions or votes, that will be a free vote. So we won't need a whip, because people they know our policies. I don't know when, but when we'll be elected, we will end mass immigration. We will withdraw from the Paris Accord. So we are speaking about the same policies since the creation of the People's Party of Canada in 2018. What we are asking to our candidates when we do an interview with them, our new candidates, is read our platform. If you're okay with that, that will be your responsibility to vote in line with that platform. And after that, if you want another subject that is very important for you or for your people living in your ridings, you'll be free to bring that and have a discussion, like abortion. I'm saying, it would be a free vote for everybody. We need to reopen that debate. If you're a pro-life candidate, come with us. And if you're a pro-choice candidate, you're welcome also. So that would be a free vote. So what I'm telling you is it will be free vote on almost everything except our policies, our 20 policies, and that's what we will do.
Michael, did you have any comments about that?
Yeah, I think the one thing that it's a double-edged sword. People go, oh, you guys are, you don't have a constitution, you don't do this, you don't do that. But as you've seen, Max has shown you, it's theater, right? We have these people coming in talking about DEI, and then the next thing he's able to change his mind. And to me, the most important thing is that I vote my conscience, is that I have been empowered. So if you do join the PPC, you'll be empowered. All you have is our mantra of freedom, fairness, responsibility, and respect. And then everything flows from that: how you conduct yourself with people, how you treat your volunteers, how you canvass. All of those are based on those principles. And I love the idea that if one of our members is pro-choice or pro-life based on their constituents, we can vote. There might be other issues where we want, there's a pipeline going in, but a couple of ridings are a little, we got to get a better deal. We're going to not vote for this. We're going to put pressure on. And I would love everybody to be represented that way so that we can come to some really great compromises to get things done, right? And then it'll be done for the people locally instead of top down all the time. It's going to come up from the front. If you elect us, you're going to be electing people that will actually represent you and not lobbyists. That's how I see it in a non-whip party. Thank you.
And also,
So
if I
how?
may,
Oh,
if I
yeah,
may
go ahead.
add to that, Michael is right. We have during the electoral campaign in 2019 and in 2021, our candidates sometimes are calling us or are calling the head office. Can I say that about that? Can I say that? When it's about your riding, you're free to take a position in line with what is important in your ridings. We don't with people, and we cannot control our people, and we don't want to control them. They're free during a campaign, and so like somebody can say, here in Toronto, it's important to, I don't know, having a new road or something like that. They can have that discussion with their people. They know better what is good for them in their ridings. So we are telling them, do your door to door, be in your riding, speak with your people, and build your own electoral campaign for your riding. And so, but I'm telling our candidates also, we are focusing on 3 or 4 policies during the electoral campaign because it's very short and you don't have time to speak about the 20 or 21 policies that we have. So we are focusing, when I'm saying focusing, on our marketing materials on a couple of policies. So, and they can choose, if mass immigration is not important for you in your riding, you think, people are it's not important, don't put that in your marketing materials. Put other things that are maybe more important in your writings, and you have the choice between our 20 policies to choose which one you want to promote in your writing.
So, what do you think will be your main policies that you're going to be focused on? So, from my perspective, and I think you probably agree. There's really the 5 big things that I think are really something that we need to get under control and likely obliterate in Canada. Is the commitment to net zero and carbon capture, based on the fact that CO2 is not a pollutant and that there is no climate crisis. A mass immigration, definitely. I'm seeing here in Alberta, I'm from Calgary. I don't actually recognize a lot of the city these days in terms of demographics. That's putting a strain on our infrastructure, our healthcare, our schools. We also freedom of expression is a major thing. We have so much censorship that's happening right now. Even within Alberta here, like I'm not able to be, the provincial board for the United Conservative Party has banned me from being a member of that party, which I find is quite funny. but for a so-called conservative party, that's what they're doing. Of course, SOGI and DEI, sexual orientation, gender identity, diversity, equity, and inclusivity, these are fundamentally changing the zeitgeist and the social fabric of our society. And we need to put an end to this, because it is not reflective of, I think, what a majority of Canadians believe in. And the fact that our institutions and the bureaucracy are running the show on this issue, I think, needs to be arrested. The last point, there was another one that, what it was another point that is really, I think, a big one, but I seem to have lost my train of thought, so I'll come back to it. But you, so would any of those policies that or those issues that I've raised right now, would those be the basis of your upcoming
Absolutely.
platform?
Absolutely, all of them, because they are under the umbrella of the cultural war. And Polyev and the conservatives are not speaking about that. It's all about the economy. Yes, we're going to speak about the economy on inflation and try to have a 0% inflation target with the Bank of Canada. Inflation is a tax, and we need to stop that. But we need to speak about that cultural war, like you said. No more DEI policies. All the gender ideology, radical ideology must end. Mass immigration, yes, as you said, net zero carbon. We don't want that. We will withdraw from the Paris Accord. It's not a question of axe the tax. Polyev will be part of the Paris Accord. Because he believes that the CO2 is a pollutant, and he believes that we must reduce our emission, like Daniel Smith in Alberta. So we don't. The climate is always changing and will always change, and there's no climate emergency. But for Polyev, he is just speaking about axe the carbon tax, but he will put more regulations, maybe on other taxes, and he will interfere in provincial jurisdictions. And also at the same time, he will give subsidies to the green industry, so to be able to achieve the Paris Accord target. So for us, we won't play that game. So everything that you said, yes, it will be important policies that we will promote before, during, and after the next election.
And in Alberta, in particular, I did run with the Independence Party of Alberta, and I wasn't a real supporter of an independent nation, Alberta becoming an independent nation, until COVID hit, to be honest with you. And the fact that I learned more about the problems that we're having as a province, change the Constitution and get a better deal within the framework of Canada at large. We've been Albertans voted under Jason Kenney to reform equalization. What are your thoughts on the equalization payment and that in the current structure? And would you be open to changing that or abolishing it? And with respect to the Canada Pension Plan and Alberta's initiative right now exploring the Alberta Pension Plan, what are your thoughts on Alberta leaving the Canada Pension Plan and implementing their own, or allowing or encouraging or supporting Albertans to at least to collect their own taxes and have a little bit more autonomy from that perspective?
I agree with that 100%. And that's why some separatists in Alberta are voting for us at the federal level, because in our platform, you have the radical decentralization. And when we are doing that, if you respect the Constitution, that will be a radical decentralization. That means that you'll have the right to have your own pension plan, like in Quebec. You'll have the right to have your own police force, like in Quebec. You'll have the right to do what you want in healthcare without any federal interference. everything that Quebec has right now, it must be the same for every province. And I understand why. And for the equalization formula, I'm the only politician who's saying, yes, it is in the Constitution. And the federal government will decide the amount of money that is giving to have-not provinces. I said, you don't need to reopen the Constitution for that. You just need to change the formula to be less generous and to be fair for every province. The federal government can have a cabinet decision, and Wednesday morning, starting at 9 o'clock a.m. and at 12 p.m., you have the new equalization formula. And that's it. We have to be less generous to Quebec and Atlantic Canada. And I said that in French in Quebec. And Quebecers understand that, we are not a poor province. We are a poor province because in Alberta, all the income that the federal government is receiving from the oil and gas industry, it is part of the formula. But in Quebec, the hydroelectricity, all the income that the federal government is receiving from hydroelectricity, it is not part in the formula. So
Yeah.
it's unfair. We need to change that. And I said, yes, you can respect and having an equalization formula by giving, $1 million. That's it. The federal government can decide. Actually, when Harper was in government, he did increase the amount in the equalization formula. He did change the formula to be more generous. We'll do the opposite. And that's why, we have a lot of support in Alberta. But speaking about Alberta having his own pension plan, you know, Danielle Smith, that was part of our proposal of our electoral platform when she was elected. And she did work hard to promote that in Alberta to Albertan, that they can control their own pension plan and having, the independence on that. And she was asking people across the province to go and do information sessions. But now she put all that on the ice because she had a discussion with Pierre Poilievre, and Pierre Poilievre said, I don't want to deal with that. If you are coming with that in Ottawa when I'll be prime minister, I won't deal and I won't do anything and I won't change that. Pierre Poilievre said that he's against Alberta to have their own pension plan. So that's why now, if you ask your premier, she won't say that, oh, we will do that. She will be, telling, oh, yeah, it may come, but we don't know when. But that project is dead in Alberta. And that's why I understand that there are separatist movement in Alberta. The
Yeah.
Conservative Party of Canada is taking your vote for granted at the federal level. I'll give you an example, an anecdote. When I was a conservative in the caucus of the Conservative Party every Wednesday morning, each time that Harper came with a policy or legislation that was in favor of Quebec, to have more support in Quebec, all the MPs from Alberta were at the mic and telling the prime minister, you cannot do that. It won't be popular in Alberta. Our people won't like it. But it was always the same answer by the prime minister, Harper, a member of parliament from Alberta. He was saying to these Albertans MPs, maybe people won't be happy in Alberta with that policy, but you're winning with 70% of the vote. You will win your seat, but instead of 70% of the vote, you'll have 60% and will have more support in Quebec. End of the discussion. The Conservative Party of Canada is taking your vote for granted. That's why if you support the People's Party, we will keep Poilievre honest. We will push him and on doing bold reform like the equalization formula. We will support him when he'll be a conservative, but we will shame him when he won't. So we are your insurance policy that Poilievre will be a real conservative, and there's nothing to uh, to lose at the next election. It's a win-win, because if you look at the polls right now, Polyev will be elected with a majority. And I believe that it's not that Polyev is so great, is Trudeau is so bad. You know, people are always voting against the government. They are not voting for the opposition party. So that will happen. Polyev will be prime minister, but you know, he will govern to have support in Ontario, Quebec, and Atlantic Canada, and he will look at the polls to be sure to be reelected with a majority. And I will finish with that on that point. When I was a conservative, 2006, we had a minority government. 2008, another minority government. 2011, a majority government. So I said, okay, we'll be a real conservative government. We have the majority. We can do what we want. But Harper was a good manager of a big fat government. At that time, Harper did the biggest deficit in the history of our country, and he didn't do any bold reforms because he wanted to be reelected with a majority. What is the legacy of Stephen Harper? Zero, niet, nothing. Actually, Trudeau undo all that the first year of his elections. There's no legacy of Stephen Harper as the prime minister. Stephen Harper will have maybe one chapter in the history book. What he did, two things that are part of the history. He, dismantled the wheat board, and we don't have a wheat board anymore, so that's part of the legacy. And he was able to unite the right to be prime minister. And actually, we created the People's Party, and we are the real right now. So, you know, if you want to have changes, and I'm speaking with to people in Alberta, look at what the Conservative Party of Canada is offering you on the most important issues, and you'll see that there's not a lot of things for you. But yes, Polyev will be better than Trudeau, but it's very easy to be a better prime minister than Trudeau.
Oh, definitely. Well, I would challenge you on that, Maxime, about Stephen Harper and his legacy. I mean, he signed Canada onto the Paris Climate Accord and international health regulations that set up Trudeau to be able to, go along with these pandemic measures. And,
Yes.
I think it's important for me. Sorry, go ahead.
But yes, you're right about that. The legacy is a socialist legacy, actually. You're absolutely right
Exactly.
about that. And also what he did, the war in Afghanistan. I just want to tell you an anecdote about that. I was a minister in Ottawa during the war in Afghanistan. And we were saying we're doing that for the little girls and they must be able to go to school. Yeah, everything is, I agree with that. But it was not our war. Actually, uh, Jean Chrétien decided not to go to the war in Iraq, and he was right. But Harper was a warrior, and he went there. And actually, I'll give you an example. I was MP from Beauce, and one of the soldiers in Beauce, in my riding, died in Afghanistan. And I was there, and the soldiers, his parents were divorced. So I went and I see the mom individually and I offer my condolences. And so the mom was saying, oh, yes, thank you, Maxime, for being here. But as you know, my son died for a cause. He dies for freedom and thing, and I'm very proud of him. And I want to see the dad, a private discussion with the dad. And the dad said, I don't understand. I told my son not to go there, not to be in the army, and he died for nothing. Who was right? The dad. Now the Taliban are still in power. Afghanistan, after 10 years, they're back where they were. That was a war, and we lost a lot of Canadians for that, for nothing, just for Harper to show that he can use his tools and equipment, and with the military industrial complex, Canadian military industrial complex, and be with the big boys like the American and fighting a war that was not our war. And now the same thing with with the war in Ukraine. It is not our war, and we don't have to be there. We are there because we're giving more than $10 billion to Ukraine. Imagine what we can do with $10 billion if we can bring that back in our country. So, yes, the legacy of Stephen Harper is a socialist legacy with UN, and a very failed policy in Afghanistan.
Oh, 100%. I mean, the fact that we are sending money to Ukraine or supporting any wars, uh, I'm just, I do not support it whatsoever. And I think that, first of all, we're not being told the truth about any of that. And I don't think our money is going to where we think it's going. What about, I'm going to be wrapping up this interview because we've been talking for just over an hour, and we could probably talk all night about all of these issues. But south of the border, Donald Trump and his the attempted assassination that occurred over this weekend. What do you, and for both of you to comment, like what do you make of what is happening in politics these days? Do you see a peaceful way out for people, for citizens? Do you think that the politicians generally in our world are really interested in solving these issues, or are they actually interested in the Great Reset, the Fourth Industrial Revolution? And do you think that it's actually possible to change things around, and not just pre-COVID, but to a place where where Christian principles are at the forefront, where we have a guidepost that we can all refer to, that we can all agree to, a moral compass that guides us, that is rooted in Judeo-Christian principles? Do you think that kind of society is it achievable? Are we going to be able to get it back, or do you think that the media and and kind of the social media influences have kind of, and the infestation of these socialists and Marxists in our institutions? Do you think that we have a real hope in turning things around?
Yes, I do, and that's why myself and Michael, we are doing politics. I strongly believe that the right ideas will win. It's a question of time, and we are on the right side of the history. Yes, we have a strong vision for this country. We want to go back of what Canada was 20 years ago, and based on our constitution and our strong way of life. And so that's why I'm doing that battle. I'm there for the long run, and I believe that we will be able to win. And what happened in the U.S., that was a miracle that former President Trump is not dead today. And I can tell you, he will have a lot of support, and is there for the right reasons to do that cultural war in the U.S. and winning that war, and speaking for the American first, and bringing back the America that he knew when he was younger. So that happened in the U.S. I will blame the secret services. I will blame police force for that. It is unacceptable that for 20 minutes or 25, I don't remember, but at least 20 minutes, people were seeing that guy on the roof speaking to the police, and they allowed Trump to go on the stage and having that starting that rally. They need to have an open investigation on that, not only an investigation from the secret services, but I believe they will have an open investigation, will know all the details, will know. But you can blame right now the secret services and the police force who were in charge of the protection of former President Trump. But I hope that he will be able to be elected. and I hope that he will have time to do all these changes. But I'm looking for, as a Canadian, I'm looking for what is happening right now in the U.S. And I put, I want Trump to be successful for sure. And for us in Canada, it's a question of time. Populist movement in Europe are gaining popularity. And look, what happened in France, what happened in UK at during their elections, more populist candidates were elected, and that will happen. That will come to Canada, and I'm pretty optimistic for the future. I know that our ideas will win. I don't know when.
So do you think that we're in a World War III right now? I mean, it seems to me that we are. It seems to me that NATO and is really hell bent on creating a World War III, uh, like a hot war. Uh, what do you Where do you guys think this is going to go with these wars?
But when Trump will be elected, I'm saying when, not if. I hope he will. All that will stop. Trump was very clear about the war in Ukraine, and under his when he was president, he didn't start any war. He didn't start any war, and he will be very busy to work for the American people. And so I think that the military industrial complex will be very disappointed because he had experiences as president of the U.S. and I think maybe he did some mistake during his first mandate by not appointing the right people in very important position. And I believe that it won't happen again. And his agenda will be enforced during his term, and we won't be in war. But you're right. What is happening right now? It's a proxy war, the U.S. against Russia, and we need to end that. And that must be the goal of our country, of our prime minister, to speak for peace and prosperity, and he must try to put all these parties at the same table. But Trudeau won't do that. Trudeau and Poilievre and Jack Mead and the Green Party of Canada, they're all on the Ukraine corrupt government side, and they're
Yeah.
not working for the security of our country and for Canadians by doing that. So what I'm saying is Canada must do what we did in the past, being a country that will promote peace and prosperity like we did before. But that's not the case under Trudeau, and that won't be the case under Poilievre. But that will be the case under Trump.
Well, I have to say, like, I became very skeptical of Trump, having been the creator of Operation Warp Speed and basically legalizing the world genocide with this mRNA crap. So, to be honest, like, I mean, Trump says a lot of really great things. Of course, I don't want to see him dead. I think that attempt was very scary. There's a lot of things that we need to figure out. I hope that they do an independent investigation and actually that we are able to know the truth. I think part of my frustration with with politics these days and the media is that you just don't know what the truth is anymore. I mean, I know that there are absolute truths. For sure. And I think the People's Party of Canada is the only party in Canada that actually puts what those are out in it and supports them in your platform. And for that, I that's one of the reasons why I do like the People's Party of Canada. But I think by and large, government has failed because we see the Congress and our Parliament, and we have these committees and these testimonies are given, yet it's all this bread and circus political theater that continues to happen day in and day out, and there's actually no accountability. I mean, how do we as citizens, knowing that our judges are compromised and our legal system is compromised as well with the DEI agenda, how are we going to overcome it, Maxime and Michael? How do you think we can do this? Because I'm all in on trying to move Canada forward, to move Alberta forward, to be to deal with the issues that are relevant to everybody's lives, healthcare, education, free of coercion, and respecting the dignity of all people. But how are we going to do this?
Yeah, I'll take that one. Thanks very much. You're going to fight globalism with localism. So if you notice the things that have degraded our society, obviously moving away from God, our connections with each other, all of those things have kind of destroyed our communities. That's why they went after the small businesses. Those are the icons that you went to go get your
and families
graduation.
and
Well,
families.
everything. I mean, everything. It was an
Yeah.
attack on the middle class. And what we need to do is realize that no one's coming to save us. Max isn't going to save us. Trump isn't. But together we can save each other. So what I would say to everybody is, it took a long time to get here. It may take a long time to win. But every single time you get knocked down, you get up, you have hope. When you don't get down, you're done. It's lost. So in Burlington, we're working really hard. I know there's other ridings around me. And if you want to make a change, it starts locally. Your trustees, your councillors, your MPs, your MPPs, your ALMs, you got to go to the school board meetings, the councillor meetings, and you have to have the conversations one at a time. It's going to take every single one of us to change this culture, right? We don't have a bullhorn. You are the bullhorn, and together we can change the culture. Once we change the culture, we get the PPC in. Once we get the PPC in, we start rolling back all of this wokeism, all of the reckless spending, and we start getting back to Canadian values. But until Canadians are willing to take a shovel and dig in and join something, even if you don't join my riding or somebody else's riding, then join Action for Canada, join Parents First, get involved, and we'll take back this country. Thank you.
Great message, Max. I'm going to leave the final words to you, and please let us know where we can support both of you as well.
Yeah, thanks for asking. And yes, you're right. Our institutions are corrupt with a big disease and a big virus. The socialists and DEI and all that, these globalists, it's everywhere, school board, municipal level, provincial, federal, and in the court also. It's a big fight. Yes, I can admit that. It's a big fight. But like Michael said, we must do that together. And like I said, when I'm traveling across the country, be part of the change, be the change. And, if you want to change at your school board, be a candidate over there. What is the goal if you have the best ideas and the best vision for this country? If you keep that for yourself, be out there, stand up and speak out about what you believe, and be active in your community, at the school, municipal level, school board, provincial, federal. And if you want to be a candidate for us, go on our website, People's Party of Canada. You can write to us at info@peoplespartyofcanada.ca. And you can follow me on Twitter, follow us also on social media, Rumble, YouTube, and also Instagram, all the social media. And we will be able to win that battle of ideas and to change that country for the better. It's a question of time. And more people are aware now that they must act if they want our country to change and to be like it was 20, 25 years ago. So let's do that fight together. For me, it is an important fight. We are doing that for us, but also the most important for our children and our grandchildren. So be part of that change. Be with us.
100%. Well, yeah, after reading your platform and listening to both of you, I mean, what you say is it's just common sense, and I believe in and support many of your platform and policy ideas, and so I wish you both all the very best, and I echo both of your remarks about getting involved, and I encourage everybody to get involved in whatever way that you feel called to be involved, because you may not want to run for politics, but there's a lot of behind the scenes stuff that I know that both of these two candidates and others could certainly use your help with. And there's a lot more that goes into running a campaign than just showing up and doing these podcasts and doing their speeches from time to time. So I think anybody who puts their hat in the ring and puts themselves out there like this, regardless of political affiliation, I think I give them, a round of applause, because, they are doing what they can and what they feel in their hearts, and they are making a difference. So it's important that if you don't see the values that represent you being represented in the legislature or in parliament, maybe it's time that you consider for yourself that you need to run, or at least support a candidate that does hold your values and that won't be muzzled once they get elected because of their party's whip policies that that are beholden to the special interest groups and lobbyists rather than to the constituents in their riding. So, gentlemen, I know it's late where you are. Thank you so much for coming on. If there's anything I can do to help you, please let me know. And to all of the people viewing this today, do what you can to support the People's Party of Canada. They're the only party that's talking common sense, have conservative values, and I look forward to seeing your success in the future. Thank you to you both for joining tonight. I'm going to be ending the live stream, and let's stay in touch.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.